At my parents' house, over Sunday roast, they announced my sister would be moving into my apartment. No asking, just telling. I'm Rebecca, 35, and I worked my ass off to afford my own place in the city. My sister? She's 28, still living at home, never held a job longer than 3 months. But she's always been the favorite. I smiled, nodded, said nothing. Because I'd learned something important. You don't argue with people who've already decided you don't matter. You just plan. 1 week later, they showed up. Car packed. Sister grinning, parents confident. They had the audacity to use my spare key. But the person who opened that door wasn't me. And what happened next taught them a lesson they'll never forget. Stick around to see how this played out. And if you've ever been the responsible one who gets taken for granted, hit subscribe. You're gonna love this. The drive back to my parents' suburban home takes exactly 2 hours from my downtown apartment. 2 hours I spend every other Sunday, winding through highways that empty into tree-lined streets where every house looks like it came from a catalog. My parents' place is at the end of Maple Drive. White picket fence, perfectly trimmed hedges, the whole American dream package. I parked behind Megan's car. Same car she got for her 16th birthday. Same car that still runs because Dad maintains it every month in their garage. I bought my own car at 23 after saving for 2 years while working full-time and finishing my degree. Mom opened the door before I could knock. "Rebecca, right on time as always." She kissed my cheek and I caught the scent of roasting meat and rosemary. Sunday dinner was a tradition, one I'd driven 2 hours for every other week for the past decade. The dining room was set like something from a magazine. China plates with gold trim, linen napkins folded into perfect triangles, crystal wine glasses catching the afternoon light. Dad sat at the head of the table, carving knife already in hand. Megan sat across from where my seat waited, scrolling through her phone with her thumbs moving rapid fire across the screen. "Megan, phone away," Mom said, setting down a dish of roasted vegetables. Megan didn't look up. "1 second. I took my seat, smoothing my napkin across my lap. "How was your week?" Dad cleared his throat, that particular sound that meant he had something planned. "Good, good. Yours?" "Busy. Landed a new client for the firm. I worked as a marketing director for a mid-size agency downtown. 10 years of 60-hour weeks, climbing from intern to director. Big campaign launching next month." "That's nice, dear," Mom said, but her eyes flicked to Dad. They had that look, the one that appeared before family meetings, before announcements, before my life got rearranged without my input. Megan finally put her phone down, face up on the table. I could see notifications lighting up the screen every few seconds. We passed dishes around. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, dinner rolls. Everything looked perfect. Everything always looked perfect at this table. Dad carved the roast with precise movements, placing slices on plates. Mom served vegetables with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Rebecca, dear," Mom started, setting down the serving spoon with a soft clink. "We need to talk about something important." There it was. I set down my fork, folded my hands in my lap, and waited. Dad cleared his throat again. Megan suddenly looked very interested in her food, but I caught the corner of her mouth twitching upward. "Megan needs to move to the city," Mom continued, "for opportunities. She's been looking for work, and there's just nothing out here in the suburbs." I nodded slowly. Megan had been looking for work since she dropped out of community college 3 years ago. The job searches usually involved scrolling through her phone and occasionally sending an application to places she had no intention of actually working. "Your apartment is perfect," Dad said, cutting a piece of roast with surgical precision. 2 bedrooms right in the city, close to transit." "Actually," I said, keeping my voice level, "I only have 1 bedroom." Mom waved her hand like she was brushing away a fly. "The living room is huge, Rebecca. We saw it when you moved in. Megan can use the couch. It'll be like college roommates." I'd never had college roommates. I'd worked 3 jobs to afford a single room in a shared house, studying between shifts at the coffee shop, the library desk, and weekend catering gigs. "And it's not like you're home much anyway," Dad added. "You're always working late, those 60-hour weeks you mentioned. Megan won't be in your way." "In my way." in my one-bedroom sanctuary that took me 10 years of grinding to afford. My space where I could finally breathe without someone needing something from me. Family helps family, Dad continued, his tone shifting to that authoritative register he used when he expected compliance. That's what we do. That's how we raised you. Megan spoke for the first time since dinner started. It's just temporary, Beck. Maybe 6 months? Just until I get on my feet. 6 months. I'd heard that before. When Megan borrowed $500 for emergency car repairs that turned into new clothes and concert tickets. When she needed a few weeks to figure out her next move after dropping out, which turned into 3 years and counting. We're so proud of how successful you are, Mom said, reaching over to pat my hand. Her touch was warm, but something about it felt calculated, like she was testing my temperature. You've always been so independent, so responsible. You won't even notice she's there. I would notice. I'd notice every morning waking up in my bedroom knowing my living room was occupied. I'd notice every evening coming home to my space not being mine anymore. I'd notice every weekend sacrificed to playing hostess in my own home. Let me think about it, I said, reaching for my water glass. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Mom's smile froze. There's nothing to think about, sweetheart. She's your sister. This is what family does. We'll help her move next Sunday, Dad said, not asking, telling. You'll be home, right? We'll need you there to let us in. I took a slow sip of water, buying myself 3 seconds to breathe. My throat felt tight, like someone had wrapped a hand around it and was squeezing just enough to remind me they could crush it if they wanted. I might have plans next Sunday, I said. Megan's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at me. Come on, Beck, don't make this a whole thing. Don't make this a whole thing. Don't be difficult. Don't be selfish. Don't be anything except what they needed me to be in that exact moment. I'd heard these phrases my entire life. When I couldn't come home for Easter because I had a work trip, don't be selfish. When I needed to study instead of babysitting Megan, don't be difficult. When I suggested maybe I'd like to choose my own college instead of the one that was close to home, don't make this a whole thing. We raised you better than this, Mom said softly, and that was the kill shot. The guilt nuke. The reminder that everything I had, everything I was, I owed to them. Except I didn't. I paid for my own college. I bought my own car. I found my own apartment, signed my own lease, furnished it with furniture I assembled myself at 2 a.m. after 12-hour work days. But sitting at that table with the perfect roast and the perfect place settings and the perfect family image surrounding me, I felt that old, familiar doubt creeping in. Was I being selfish? Other people let their siblings crash with them. Other people made sacrifices for family. Maybe I was overreacting. Okay, I heard myself say. Mom's face lit up. Wonderful. I knew you'd see reason. Dad nodded approvingly and returned to his roast. Megan smiled and picked up her phone again, already texting someone, probably telling them she was moving to the city. I pushed food around my plate for the rest of dinner, automatic responses falling from my mouth. Yes, the roast was delicious. No, work wasn't too stressful. Sure, I'd love another roll. The drive home was silent except for the highway noise and the sound of my own breathing. 2 hours to replay every moment of that dinner, every calculated word, every assumption that I'd just comply because I always had. By the time I pulled into my apartment's parking garage, something had shifted in my chest. Not anger yet, I wasn't there yet. Just a cold, clear certainty settling into my bones. I walked into my apartment, set my keys in the dish by the door, and looked around. My couch, the one I'd saved 3 months for. My bookshelf, built from a kit and stuffed with books I actually read. My art prints on the walls, chosen because I liked them, not because they matched some coordinated aesthetic. My space, my sanctuary, my 10 years of work made physical. I wasn't giving it up. I pulled out my phone and opened a new note, started typing. Things I need to do this week. By Tuesday morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I was in a meeting when the texts started coming through, my phone vibrating against the conference table like an angry bee trapped under glass. I ignored it until lunch, then checked in my office with the door closed. Mom, Megan's so excited she's already packing. Mom, did you get my message? Mom, we need to coordinate about furniture. What do you have in the living room that we need to move? I stared at my phone screen. We need to coordinate, not asking what I wanted to do about my furniture in my apartment, telling me we'd be moving it. I typed out 3 different responses and deleted all of them, finally settled on, I haven't agreed to this. The response came back in under a minute. Mom, don't be dramatic. It's decided. It's decided. Past tense. Like my opinion was a formality they'd skipped over. I put my phone face down on my desk and tried to focus on the campaign brief in front of me. The words blurred together. I read the same paragraph 4 times without retaining a single word. My phone buzzed again. I flipped it over. Family group chat. The one with my parents, Megan, my Aunt Carol, Uncle Tom, and about 6 cousins I barely talked to. Dad, we need your spare key by Friday so we can get copies made. My spare key. The one I kept hidden in my desk drawer at home for emergencies. The one I'd never given them because my apartment was mine, my space, my boundary. Megan had added a house emoji and a party popper emoji to the message. My cousin Jennifer replied, "So nice of you to help family." Sarah added a heart emoji. Uncle Tom, that's what family's all about. I watched the messages pile up, my chest getting tighter with each notification. They were painting a picture for the extended family, positioning me as the generous older sister helping out. If I said no now, I wouldn't just be refusing my parents, I'd be disappointing everyone. Public pressure, social accountability, they were smart. They'd always been smart about this. I muted the group chat and opened my text thread with my best friend Maya. Me, remember how I said dinner was weird on Sunday? Maya, your parents did something, didn't they? Me, they announced Megan's moving into my apartment. Didn't ask, just told me it's happening next Sunday. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Maya, what the actual fuck? Me, they want my spare key by Friday. Maya, please tell me you're not giving it to them. I stared at that message for a long time. Was I going to give them the key? Hand over access to my home because they demanded it? My phone buzzed, Mom calling. I sent it to voicemail. She called again immediately. I sent it to voicemail again. She left a message. I almost didn't listen to it, but some terrible compulsion made me press play. Rebecca, we're getting very worried about you. You're being incredibly selfish about this whole situation. Megan needs help, and we raised you to be better than this. Call me back. We need to settle the details. I saved the message. I wasn't sure why yet, but some instinct told me to keep it. Wednesday brought more texts. The family group chat I'd muted showed 47 unread messages. I opened it once, scrolled through. More supportive messages about how generous I was being, questions about what Megan would need, suggestions for furniture arrangements. Nobody had asked me if I agreed. They'd all just assumed. That evening, I called Maya. I need advice, I said when she picked up. Okay, shoot. They're acting like it's already decided, like I'm just being difficult by not immediately offering up my apartment. Because you kind of are, Maya said, and my stomach dropped until she continued. Being difficult, I mean. And that's good. You should be difficult. They're being insane. Am I overreacting? Beck, they want to move your adult sister into your 1-bedroom apartment without asking you first. That's not normal. That's not how boundaries work. But other people let family stay with them. Other people get asked first, with an option to say no. Your parents announced it at dinner like they were telling you what the weather would be next week. I leaned back against my couch, pressing my fingers against my closed eyes. I feel like I'm going crazy. That's because they're making you feel crazy. It's working. Thursday morning, I made an appointment with my therapist for that evening. Emergency session. She squeezed me in at 7. I told her everything. The dinner, the texts, the family group chat, the voicemail. What do you want, Rebecca? She asked, which was such a simple question, but it hit me like a truck. What did I want? I started, then stopped, tried again. I want them to respect that it's my apartment. And if they don't, then I swallowed hard. Then I guess I need to accept that they never will. Or she said, leaning forward slightly. You could decide that their lack of respect doesn't give them access to your space. I blinked. You're saying I should just refuse? I'm saying you have the right to say no, and you don't need their permission to enforce your own boundaries. That night, I lay in bed staring at my ceiling, turning her words over in my mind. You don't need their permission to enforce your own boundaries. I'd spent 35 years asking permission to exist, to have needs, to want things for myself, waiting for someone to give me clearance to take up space. What if I just didn't? Friday morning, I called a locksmith. I need my apartment locks changed today, I said. How fast can you get here? I can have someone there by 2. Perfect. The locksmith showed up at 2:15. Nice guy, didn't ask questions about why a young woman needed emergency lock changes on a Friday afternoon. He replaced the deadbolt and the handle lock, tested them both 3 times, handed me 3 new keys. $150. Worth every penny. I sat on my couch with those 3 keys in my palm, feeling their weight. The old spare key my parents wanted? Useless now. The key they were planning to use to just walk into my apartment next Sunday? Wouldn't turn. My phone rang. Mom. I sent it to voicemail. She called back. Voicemail again. Text. We need to finalize plans for Sunday. Call me. I looked at those 3 new keys, then at my phone, then around my apartment. My space. My sanctuary. My 10 years of work. I opened my contacts and scrolled to Jake. We'd gone to college together, stayed friends after. He was a construction worker, built like he could move a house covered in tattoos, generally looked intimidating as hell. Heart of gold, would do anything for friends. Me. Hey, I need a huge favor that's going to sound absolutely insane. Jake. I'm listening. Me. Can you house sit my apartment next Sunday? Like, actually be there, answer the door if anyone shows up? Jake. Why do I feel like there's a story here? Me. Because there is. I'll explain in person. Buy you dinner? Jake. Deal. This sounds entertaining. We met Friday night at our usual bar. I laid out the whole situation over nachos and beer. So let me get this straight, Jake said, wiping salsa from his beard. Your parents want to move your sister into your place without asking, and you're going to just not be there when they show up? I'm going to be very not there. In a hotel. With my phone off. And you want me to pretend I live there? I want you to answer the door as you, who actually will be staying there. I'll pay for a sublease agreement to be drawn up and everything. Make it look completely legitimate. Jake started laughing, this huge booming sound that made other bar patrons turn around. That's diabolical. I'm absolutely in. You sure? Beck, your parents tried to give away your apartment. I'm honored to be part of whatever chaos is about to happen. Saturday, I worked from a coffee shop, documenting everything in a folder on my laptop, screenshots of texts, the voicemail transcribed, timeline of events. I wasn't sure what I'd need it for, but if my family wanted to make this complicated, I'd be prepared. Saturday night, I packed a bag. Essentials for a few days, my laptop, chargers. I left my apartment spotless like I was moving out, put fresh sheets on my bed, stocked the fridge with Jake's favorite beer. I texted him, keys under the mat, make yourself at home. If anyone shows up tomorrow, you're subletting from me starting this week. I'll send the paperwork to your email. Jake. Got it. This is going to be legendary. I drove to a hotel 20 minutes away, checked in under my name, ordered room service, sat on the hotel bed with my laptop and drafted the sublease agreement. Completely fake, but official looking enough to pass casual inspection. Sunday morning, I woke up at 6. Couldn't sleep. Checked my phone. Still on. I couldn't bring myself to turn it off yet. No messages. They weren't expecting resistance. Why would they? I'd always said yes before. At 1:30, I got a text from Jake. Showtime in 30. This coffee you left is incredible, BTW. It's cool. At 1:45, I opened the security camera app on my phone. I'd installed a subtle one by my door months ago, mostly for package delivery notifications. Now it was about to give me a front row seat to the moment my family realized I wasn't the pushover they thought I was. At exactly 2 p.m., my parents' car pulled into view. I watched Dad get out first, then Mom, then Megan from the back seat. They moved to the trunk. Boxes, suitcases, a lamp, a duffel bag. Megan was already laughing about something, face bright with excitement. Mom was organizing, pointing to which boxes to grab first. Dad had his confident stride, the one he used when he was used to getting his way. They loaded themselves up like pack mules and headed toward my building entrance. I zoomed in on their faces. Happy, certain, not a single doubt that I'd be there, waiting, ready to welcome my sister into my space because that's what they'd decided would happen. My doorbell rang through the camera audio. I held my breath. Jake opened the door. The look on my father's face was worth every single penny I'd spent on those new locks. I watched through my phone screen as Jake stood in my doorway, 6'2", tattooed arms crossed, wearing gym shorts and holding a coffee mug. Behind him, my apartment looked lived in, his jacket on my coat hook, his work boots by the door. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Mom's perfectly arranged smile cracked down the middle. "Who are you?" Dad finally managed. Jake took a casual sip of coffee. "I'm Jake. Who are you?" "We're Rebecca's parents." Mom's voice had that edge to it, the one that usually made people scramble to apologize. "This is her apartment." Jake glanced back into the apartment, then back at them. "Actually, it's my apartment now. Signed the sublease last week." The boxes in Megan's arms shifted. She adjusted her grip, confusion spreading across her face. "Where's Rebecca?" "She said she was moving," Jake said with a shrug that looked perfectly natural because we'd practiced it over nachos Friday night. "Gave me a great deal on the rent, actually. Super nice of her." Dad's face was doing something I'd never seen before, cycling through confusion, anger, disbelief, all of it happening in real time. "That's impossible. We have a key." He pulled it from his pocket, held it up like evidence. My old spare key, the one that was absolutely useless now. "That key doesn't work anymore," Jake said, his tone still friendly, conversational. "Locks were changed Friday. Building management thing? You know how it is?" Dad moved forward, actually tried to push past Jake to put the key in the lock. Jake didn't budge, just stood there solid as a brick wall while Dad fumbled with the key that wouldn't turn. Mom's voice went up 3 octaves. "This is ridiculous. Call Rebecca, right now." "Don't have her number," Jake said. "Just dealt with the landlord's office and the sublease paperwork. She left the keys under the mat for me Thursday night, and I moved in Friday morning." I could see my mother's mask cracking in real time, pieces of the perfect suburban mom facade falling away. "That ungrateful little—" "Han!" Dad cut her off, glancing at the apartment doors nearby. "People are watching." And they were. Mrs. Chen from 3B had opened her door a crack. The college kids in 3D were openly staring from their doorway. Mom took a breath, forced her voice back to something approaching normal. "Young man, I don't know what Rebecca told you, but there's been a mistake. Our daughter Megan was supposed to move in today. This was all arranged." Jake's eyebrows went up. "Arranged with who?" "With Rebecca," Mom said through gritted teeth. "Huh." Jake scratched his beard thoughtfully. "That's weird because she definitely moved out. Took a bunch of stuff with her Thursday night. Said something about starting fresh somewhere new." Megan set down her boxes on the hallway floor with a thud, pulled out her phone. I watched her fingers move across the screen, calling me. My phone buzzed in my hotel room and I let it go to voicemail. "She's not answering," Megan said, and there was something in her voice I'd never heard before. Not anger, something closer to panic. "Well?" Jake said, still friendly, still completely in control. "I'm sorry about the confusion, but this is my place now. Paid first and last month, got the signed sublease and everything. I'd show you, but honestly, I don't have to." He started to close the door. "Have a good day, folks." Dad's hand shot out, stopping the door. "Now you listen here?" "Sir?" Jake's voice changed, dropped about 20 degrees, still polite, but with steel underneath. "You need to leave. This is private property and you're making the other residents uncomfortable." I could see Dad calculating that look he got when he realized he wasn't going to win. His hand dropped from the door. Jake closed it with a gentle click. Through the camera, I watched my family stand there in the hallway, surrounded by boxes and suitcases. Watched Mom's face cycle through emotions like a slot machine. Watched Megan sink down to sit on one of the boxes, phone still in her hand. Watched Dad's shoulders slump. Mrs. Chen's door closed. The college kids went back inside. The hallway was suddenly very quiet. "This can't be happening," Mom said to no one in particular. Dad pulled out his phone, started calling me. I watched his face through the camera as it went to voicemail. He tried again. Voicemail, again. Voicemail. "She's not picking up," he said. "Obviously," Megan snapped, and there was the anger I'd been waiting for. "She planned this. She actually planned this." Mom's voice rose again. "After everything we've done for her, we're leaving," Dad said, cutting her off. "Now, before we make more of a scene." They loaded the boxes back into the car, movements jerky with suppressed rage. It took them 3 trips. I watched every second of it, this perfect reversal of what they'd planned. Instead of carrying Megan's life into my apartment, they were carrying it back to the car in defeat. Before they pulled away, Mom turned and looked directly at the camera by my door. I don't know if she knew it was there or if it was just coincidence, but for a moment, her eyes locked with the lens. The look on her face was pure hatred. Then they were gone, and my screen showed just an empty hallway and Jake's boots visible under my door. My phone started buzzing. 47 missed calls by Sunday evening. I turned it face down on the hotel nightstand and ordered more room service. Tuesday morning, I finally turned my phone back on in the parking lot of my therapist's office. The notifications took 3 full minutes to load. 72 calls, 89 text messages, 23 voicemails. I forwarded them all to a folder without listening. I'd deal with them later. Maybe? "So," my therapist said when I'd finished explaining what happened. "How do you feel?" I expected her to ask that. I'd been asking myself the same thing since Sunday. "I don't know. I thought I'd feel guilty." "And do you?" I sat with that question, really examined it. Searched for the guilt I'd felt my entire life any time I disappointed them. The heavy weight in my chest that usually appeared when I said no. It wasn't there. "No," I said slowly. "I don't feel guilty. I feel free," she finished for me. "Yeah." I laughed, surprising myself. "Yeah, I feel free. Is that wrong?" "Rebecca, you set a boundary. They chose to violate it anyway. You protected your space. There's nothing wrong with that." "They're calling me selfish." "Are you being selfish?" "I don't know anymore. What's the difference between self-care and selfish?" She leaned forward. "Selfish is taking something that belongs to someone else. Self-care is protecting what's yours. Your apartment is yours. You didn't take anything from them. You just stopped letting them take from you." I sat with that for the rest of the session, turning it over in my mind like a puzzle piece that finally fit. That evening, I met Maya for coffee. She hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. "You're my hero," she said. "Please tell me you recorded their faces." "Security camera footage, it's saved forever." She laughed so hard she snorted coffee. "I need to see this." I showed her on my phone. Watched her face light up at Jake's performance. Watched her eyes widen at my mother's meltdown. "Oh my God," she said. "Your mom actually said ungrateful in front of neighbors?" "Yep." "And your dad tried to force his way in with a key that didn't work?" "Yep." Maya sat back, shaking her head. "Beck, I've known you for 10 years. I've watched you cancel plans because your mom called about some family emergency that wasn't actually an emergency. I've seen you drive 2 hours every other Sunday without fail. I've seen you loan money to Megan that we both knew you'd never see again." She reached across the table, grabbed my hand. This is the first time I've ever seen you choose yourself." That night, I went home to my apartment. Jake had cleaned up before he left, even washed the coffee mug. He'd left a note on my counter. "Best sublease ever. They deserve everything that's coming. Call if you need backup." I stood in my living room, my empty, peaceful mine living room, and just breathed. No Megan's stuff cluttering the space. No passive-aggressive comments about my furniture choices. No walking on eggshells in my own home. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Hello? Rebecca. My Aunt Carol's voice dripping with disappointment. Your mother is devastated. Absolutely devastated. You need to fix this. There it was. The extended family brigade, right on schedule. I didn't break anything, I said, voice steady. So there's nothing to fix. You humiliated them. In front of strangers. Megan is heartbroken. They tried to move Megan into my apartment without asking me. That's not my responsibility to fix. Family takes care of family. You're right, I said. And family also respects boundaries, asks permission, treats each other like adults with autonomy. Silence on the other end. I'm not discussing this anymore, I said. I need space. Don't contact me again. I hung up, blocked the number. My phone rang again. Different, unknown number. I sent it to voicemail. Then I did something I'd never done before. I opened every single messaging app on my phone and blocked my parents' numbers, their emails, their social media accounts. Megan's too. Each tap felt like cutting a rope that had been strangling me for decades. By Wednesday, I was back at work, trying to focus on campaign briefs and client meetings. My phone stayed mercifully quiet. Blocked numbers can't get through, turns out. But at lunch, I made the mistake of checking Facebook. My mom had posted a status. No names mentioned, but everyone would know. Heartbroken when your own child turns their back on family, praying for guidance during this difficult time. 63 comments, 48 sympathetic reactions. My jaw clenched as I scrolled through them. So sorry you're going through this. Family is everything. Some people forget that. Sending prayers. No one asked what happened. No one questioned the narrative. Mom was the victim, and somewhere out there, I was the villain. I was about to close the app when I saw a comment from my cousin Sarah. Hey, I'd love to hear both sides before jumping to conclusions. Can we talk? I messaged her directly, sent her the timeline, the texts, the voicemail, the security footage. She responded within 10 minutes. Holy shit, Rebecca. I had no idea. They told everyone you just cut them off for no reason. Of course they did. Can I share this with the family? They need to know what actually happened. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to stay silent, let them think what they wanted. But a bigger part was tired of being the villain in someone else's story. Share whatever you want, I typed. I'm done protecting people who won't protect me. By Thursday, the family group chat I'd been removed from was apparently exploding. Sarah kept me updated. Uncle Tom is pissed. Aunt Carol is backtracking. Your mom is saying the videos are taken out of context. Are people believing her? Some are, some aren't. The group is pretty split. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. My dad's work number, one I hadn't blocked. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Rebecca. His voice was different. Quieter. We need to talk. I'm listening. Your mother wants to apologize. I waited. He didn't continue. Is she on the phone right now? I asked. No, but... Then she doesn't want to apologize. She wants you to fix it for her. Long pause. I could hear him breathing, could picture him in his office with the door closed, trying to smooth over another family crisis. You're right, he said finally, and I nearly dropped my phone. Dad didn't say those words. Ever. What? You're right. She should call you herself. If she wants to apologize, she should be the one to do it. Why are you calling then? Another pause. Because I wanted to hear your voice. Make sure you're okay. Something in my chest twisted. I'm fine. Good. That's good. He cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I didn't know your mother was going to post that on Facebook. I asked her to take it down. Did she? Not yet. Then your asking didn't mean much, did it? He sighed, heavy and tired. No, I suppose it didn't. We sat in silence for a moment, this gulf between us filled with everything we'd never said. I'm not apologizing, I said finally. I'm not coming back and pretending everything is fine. I'm not asking you to. Good. But Rebecca? His voice cracked slightly. We miss you. I hung up before he could hear me cry. That weekend I did something I hadn't done in years. I made plans that had nothing to do with my family. Jake invited me to a barbecue at his place. Maya and her boyfriend came. Some people from work. Sarah showed up with beer and hugs. We grilled burgers on Jake's tiny apartment balcony, played card games, laughed until my sides hurt. Nobody asked about my family. Nobody expected me to perform. At one point, Jake pulled me aside. "How you holding up?" "Better than I expected." "Good, because if they show up at your place again, I'm one call away." "Thank you for everything." He shrugged. "That's what friends do. Real friends, not the kind who show up when they need something." Sunday morning, I woke up to a notification. Mom had finally taken down the Facebook post, replaced it with nothing. No explanation, no retraction. Just silence. But my cousin Sarah had posted something new in the family group chat, and she'd added me back before I could be removed. I opened it, heart pounding. Sarah had written, "After seeing all the evidence, I need to say something. Rebecca set a boundary. Her parents ignored it. That's not Rebecca being cruel. That's her parents being disrespectful. If we're going to be a family that claims to value each other, we need to start with basic respect." The thread below was chaos. Some agreed. Some defended my parents. Some stayed silent. But Aunt Carol had written, "I called Rebecca without knowing the full story. I was wrong. Rebecca, if you see this, I'm sorry." Uncle Tom, "Your apartment, your rules. Anyone saying different is out of line." My cousin Jennifer, "I made assumptions. That wasn't fair. Sorry, Beck." Not everyone, not even most, but enough people that the narrative was shifting. The cracks in the perfect family image were spreading, and for the first time, they weren't being blamed on me. Monday morning, 3 months after the incident, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Megan. New phone. Can we talk?" I stared at it for 10 minutes before responding. "I'm not ready yet." "I understand, but when you are, I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much they used you. I do now." I didn't respond, wasn't sure what to say. But I saved the number, didn't block it. Maybe someday. That afternoon, I was leaving work when I saw them, my parents waiting by my car in the parking garage. My first instinct was to run, call security, get back in the building, but I'd spent 3 months building new instincts. So I walked toward them, keys in hand, ready to use them if necessary. "We're not here to cause trouble," Dad said, hands up like he was approaching a wild animal. Maybe he was. "Then why are you here?" Mom stepped forward. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. "I wanted to apologize in person, like I should have done months ago." I waited. She twisted her purse strap between her fingers. "I was wrong," she said, and the words sounded like they hurt. "About the apartment, about posting on Facebook, about all of it." She looked up at me, and for the first time in my memory, her perfect mask was completely gone. "I took you for granted because you always said yes, and when you finally said no, I couldn't handle it." "Okay," I said, because what else was there to say? "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she continued. "I'm just asking if someday, maybe, we could talk. Really talk. Not about what I need or what the family needs. About what you need." I looked at my dad. He nodded. "I should have backed you up sooner. Should have questioned the whole plan from the start. I'm sorry, too." 3 months ago, this apology would have fixed everything. I'd have fallen back into old patterns, accepted the scraps they offered, been grateful for acknowledgement. But 3 months had changed me. "I appreciate the apology," I said carefully, "but I'm not ready to have a relationship with you yet. Maybe someday, not today." Mom's face crumpled slightly, but she nodded. "I understand." "And just so we're clear," I added, "if you ever show up at my apartment again without permission, if you ever try to use family as leverage against me, if you ever violate my boundaries again, we're done, permanently." "We understand," Dad said. They walked away, got in their car, drove off. I stood there in the parking garage, keys in hand, and felt absolutely nothing. No guilt, no relief, just peaceful, empty nothing. And that was perfect. I drove home to my apartment, my space, my sanctuary, completely and totally mine. Made dinner for one. Watched whatever I wanted on TV. Went to bed when I felt like it. My phone buzzed. Sarah in the group chat. Rebecca, you coming to Thanksgiving at my place? It took me a moment to realize. Thanksgiving. A holiday I'd spent at my parents' house for 35 years. I typed, "Yeah, I'll bring something. What do you need?" She sent back a heart emoji. That's when it hit me. I'd lost the family I was born into, but I'd found something better, a family I chose. People who respected me, asked permission, treated me like an adult with autonomy and needs. Later that night, my friend Maya texted, "Wine night this weekend?" Jake, "Gaming tournament Thursday. You in?" Sarah, "Lunch next week. Need to catch up." My calendar filled up with plans made with people who wanted to spend time with me, not because I was useful, but because they actually liked me. 6 months after the incident, I got an email from Megan. No demands, no guilt trips, just, I got a job. Moved into my own place, paying rent for the first time ever. It's harder than I thought. Sorry I never appreciated how hard you worked. I wrote back, "Proud of you." She sent back a smiley face. Small, but something. My parents and I exchanged emails occasionally. Surface level stuff, weather, work updates, nothing deep. And that was okay, because I'd learned the best lesson of my life. The best revenge isn't anger or payback. It's living well. It's choosing peace. It's building a life so good that the people who tried to control you become irrelevant. They forgot what I gave because they never paid the price. But I remembered, and I finally stopped paying it too. 1 year later, I was hosting Friendsgiving at my apartment, the same apartment they'd tried to give away. My chosen family filled every corner. Jake and his girlfriend, Maya and her fiancé, Sarah and 3 of our cousins who got it, work friends, neighbors. Someone asked about my family. I smiled and gestured around the room. "You're looking at them." And I meant it. So if you're the family scapegoat, the eternal problem solver, the one who's always expected to sacrifice, this is your sign. You're allowed to choose yourself. They'll call you selfish. Let them. Selfish is just their word for boundaries. They'll say you destroyed the family. You didn't. You stopped holding it together with your own suffering. The best revenge is a life well lived. Without them in it,